Imagine a world where having a baby no longer requires pregnancy, a world where infertile couples can conceive and become biological parents without the risks and challenges of traditional childbirth. This could soon become a reality thanks to a groundbreaking concept called Ectolife, the world's first artificial womb facility. Ectolife aims to revolutionize the way we approach reproduction by growing up to 30,000 babies per year in a safe, controlled environment outside the mother's body. Using advanced technology and renewable energy, these artificial wombs would mimic the conditions of natural gestation, providing everything a developing fetus needs to thrive. The potential benefits are immense. Couples struggling with infertility would have a new path to parenthood. High-risk pregnancies and complications could be largely eliminated. Women who can't carry a baby to term, whether due to medical issues or personal circumstances, would have an alternative. It could be a game-changer for reproductive health and family planning. But where did this sci-fi-esque idea even come from? Believe it or not, the concept of artificially growing babies has been around for centuries, albeit in a much more primitive form. Way back in the 1500s, an Italian physician named Paracelsus proposed that you could create a living being by combining human sperm with horse manure. As crazy as it sounds, this superstition persisted for over 100 years. Fortunately, science has come a long way since then. In 1923, British biologist J.B.S. Haldane published a science fiction novel called Daedalus, which depicted a future where babies were routinely produced outside the womb. His fictional scientists achieved a 90% success rate, and France became the first country to manufacture 60,000 children per year by 1968. An astonishingly prescient prediction, considering Ectolife is slated to produce 30,000 babies annually a full century later. Of course, the journey from fiction to reality has been long and complicated. The first successful artificial womb experiment wasn't until 1996, when scientists managed to gestate a goat embryo for a few weeks. But those pioneering researchers laid the groundwork for visionaries like Hashem Al-Ghaili to take the technology to the next level. With Ectolife, Al-Ghaili has conceptualized a fully realized artificial womb facility for humans. Rows upon rows of high-tech gestation pods, each providing a perfectly controlled environment for a developing baby. At the heart of each Ectolife pod is a unique artificial amniotic fluid, designed to replicate the protective and nourishing properties of the real thing. This fluid is made from a solution called lactated ringers, which has a composition remarkably similar to the water found in the human body. In fact, it's often used by doctors to treat dehydration and electrolyte imbalances. The artificial amniotic fluid plays a crucial role in fetal development, delivering essential growth factors, hormones, and antibodies to the baby. It also acts as a cushioning barrier, shielding the delicate fetus from external impacts and temperature fluctuations. Maintaining the optimal balance and purity of this fluid is a top priority for the Ectolife system. To ensure the health and safety of each baby, the pods are equipped with an array of advanced monitoring technologies. High-resolution 360-degree cameras keep a watchful eye on the fetus 24/7, capturing every tiny movement and change. Parents can access real-time video feeds and receive regular time-lapse updates via a smartphone app, allowing them to feel connected to their child throughout the gestation process. But visual monitoring is just the beginning. Each pod also features a state-of-the-art surround sound system designed to let parents talk, read, or even sing to their baby. Studies have shown that fetuses can start responding to voices and music from around 16 weeks, so this auditory stimulation could play a key role in early bonding and brain development. Of course, the most critical aspect of fetal monitoring is tracking vital signs and growth metrics. To accomplish this, the Ectolife pods employ 3 cutting-edge sensor technologies. First, there's a bioimpedance sensor, which uses weak electrical currents to measure fluid levels and body composition. This helps ensure the baby is properly hydrated and growing on schedule. Next, an electrocardiogram sensor keeps tabs on the baby's heart rate and rhythm, alerting caregivers to any potential issues. Finally, a pulse oximeter measures blood oxygen levels, just like the smartwatches and fitness trackers many of us wear today. Together, these sensors provide a comprehensive picture of the baby's health status at all times. But the Ectolife system isn't just designed to monitor development. It's also capable of proactively addressing genetic disorders and other abnormalities. Before a fetus is even placed in the pod, its DNA is thoroughly sequenced and analyzed, with all relevant data from the parent's genetic profiles loaded into the artificial intelligence system. As the fetus grows, the AI continuously scans its DNA and compares it to the parent's genetic blueprints. If any discrepancies or mutations are detected, the system can quickly identify the problem and take corrective action. Using a library of healthy DNA segments, the AI can precisely edit the fetus's genome, swapping out faulty genes for functional ones. The goal is to catch and correct any genetic disorders as early as possible, ideally before they have a chance to manifest. In theory, this could allow Ectolife to produce babies free from inherited conditions like cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and certain cancers. It's a powerful example of how this technology could be used not just to improve reproductive outcomes, but to fundamentally alter the course of human health and evolution. Perhaps the most ambitious and controversial aspect of Ectolife is its proposed ability to actively correct genetic disorders and defects. The process begins before the embryo is even implanted in the artificial womb. Prospective parents undergo extensive genetic screening, with their full DNA profiles loaded into the Ectolife database. The embryo itself is also thoroughly sequenced, and the AI compares its genome to the parental blueprints, looking for any discrepancies or mutations. If a genetic abnormality is identified, the system can potentially use CRISPR gene editing technology to make targeted corrections. CRISPR is a revolutionary tool that allows scientists to precisely snip out and replace segments of DNA, essentially rewriting the genetic code. In theory, this could allow Ectolife to eliminate a wide range of inherited disorders, from single gene conditions like cystic fibrosis and Huntington's disease, to more complex disorders, influenced through multiple genes, like diabetes and certain cancers. By making edits at the embryonic stage, the system could ensure that the baby develops free from the burden of faulty genetics. However, gene editing is still a highly experimental and ethically fraught field. While CRISPR has shown promise in animal studies and limited human trials, its long-term safety and efficacy are not yet proven. There are concerns about off-target effects, where the tool inadvertently cuts the wrong section of DNA, potentially causing new mutations. There are also deeper philosophical questions about the implications of altering the human genome. Is it ethical to make irreversible changes to an embryo's DNA without its consent? Could this technology exacerbate existing inequalities, creating a genetic divide between those who can afford designer babies and those who can't? And what are the risks of unforeseen consequences down the line? These are complex issues that society will need to grapple with as artificial womb technology advances. But for now, let's set aside the ethical debates and focus on the practical challenges of making Ectolife a reality. One of the biggest hurdles is creating a viable artificial amniotic fluid that can sustain a growing fetus for 9 months. As we discussed earlier, the Ectolife system uses a lactated Ringer's solution as the base for its synthetic amniotic fluid. While this solution closely mimics the electrolyte balance of natural amniotic fluid, it lacks many of the crucial nutrients, growth factors, and immune components that a fetus needs to thrive. Researchers are working on ways to supplement the fluid with these essential elements. But getting the balance right is a delicate process. Too much or too little of certain nutrients can have serious consequences for fetal development. For example, excessive folic acid has been linked to reduced oxygen carrying capacity in red blood cells and impaired neural processing. Another major challenge is ensuring proper oxygenation of the fluid as the pregnancy progresses. As the fetus grows and its oxygen demands increase, the Ectolife system needs to find ways to maintain adequate dissolved oxygen levels without causing harmful bubbles or emboli. This is complicated by the fact that oxygen solubility decreases as the fluid volume in the tank drops, leading to a gradual decline in oxygen concentration over time. The current Ectolife concept does not appear to address this issue directly, suggesting that more research and development is needed. Despite these technical hurdles, the potential benefits of artificial womb technology are hard to ignore. For parents struggling with infertility or high-risk pregnancies, Ectolife could offer a lifeline, a chance to have a healthy, genetically related child without the dangers and uncertainties of natural gestation. But as with any groundbreaking technology, there are also valid concerns and potential downsides to consider. One of the most pressing concerns is the question of consent and autonomy. In a natural pregnancy, the fetus develops inside the mother's body, and she has the right to make decisions about her health and about the health of her baby. But in an artificial womb scenario, who has the ultimate final say over the fetus's development and well-being? Some argue that the parents who commission pregnancy should have full control, since the fetus is essentially their genetic property. But others contend that the fetus, as a potential human life, has its own inherent rights and interests that must be protected. There are also questions about what happens if the parents change their minds or disagree on important decisions. Who gets to be the tiebreaker? Another major ethical quandary is the issue of access and equality. Given the likely high cost of artificial womb technology, at least initially, there are fears that it could exacerbate existing disparities in reproductive health and widen the gap between rich and poor. If only wealthy individuals and couples can afford to use Ectolife services, it could create a two-tiered system where genetically engineered lab-grown babies become the norm for the privileged, while everyone else is left behind. This raises uncomfortable parallels to the dystopian world of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where humans are bred and conditioned in artificial wombs based on their predetermined social class. There are also concerns about the psychological impact on children born via artificial wombs. Some worry that the lack of a traditional mother-child bond during gestation could lead to attachment disorders and developmental issues down the line. Others speculate that these test tube babies could face stigma and discrimination from a society that views them as unnatural or inferior. Of course, proponents of the technology argue that these fears are overblown, and that Ectolife's artificial wombs would simply provide another option for individuals and couples looking to start a family. They point out that adoption and surrogacy are already widely accepted alternatives to natural childbirth, and that studies have shown no significant differences in attachment or development between these children and their naturally conceived peers. Advocates also emphasize the potential for artificial wombs to promote greater gender equality by freeing women from the physical burdens and career interruptions of pregnancy. If the technology becomes widely available and affordable, they argue, it could level the playing field and allow both men and women to pursue parenthood on their own terms. Ultimately, the debate over artificial wombs is part of a larger conversation about the ethics of reproductive technology and the limits of human intervention in the natural process of life. As with any major scientific breakthrough, there are bound to be unintended consequences and unforeseen challenges along the way. But if we approach this technology with caution, transparency, and a commitment to equity and the greater good, it could open up incredible new possibilities for human flourishing. Imagine a world where no one is held back from becoming a parent by infertility, medical conditions, or biological constraints. Imagine a world where every child is born into a loving family that deeply desired and prepared for their arrival. That's the vision that drives innovators like Hashem Al-Ghaili and the team behind Ectolife. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear. Artificial wombs are no longer the stuff of science fiction. They're a rapidly approaching reality that we must start grappling with now, before the first Ectolife baby takes its first breath. It's up to all of us, scientists, policymakers, ethicists, and everyday citizens, to shape the future of this transformative technology.